I spent 24 hours inside Blender Octane's Compositor just to see if it's actually worth using. Most Blender artists skip this entirely. They render their images, they open them up in Photoshop or Fusion, and they never touch the compositing tab at all. But here's what surprised me. Octane's Compositor isn't just functional, it's actually pretty solid. In this video, I'll break down exactly how to use it, what works, and how to make it part of your workflow without losing your mind. If you're new here, my name is Patrick LeVar. I've been learning Blender Octane for the past 5 years and teaching everything I know and giving it out for free. And I've also built one of the top Blender Octane communities online where serious artists get access to exclusive materials, feedback, direct support, and one-on-one. Well, you know what? Enough of the jibber jabber. Let's get straight into the video. Now, when you look at this setup here, it does look a little bit complicated, but once you get a grasp of the setup, it's actually fairly easy. If I come up here to this top one here, I'm gonna go full screen for you guys. This is where we set up our AOV render passes. Here is our AOV group, which you have to have. From here, we're gonna group out to all of the different AOV channels that we wanna have. For example, direct, emitters, reflections, and the normal albedo, and these I actually use for the denoiser. What we can do is we can take these groups, and I can take this AOV group and make another group to get more passes. For example, here I have Cryptomattes here, and if I look here, I got my Cryptomattes AOV. I can come in here and choose all these different types of Cryptomattes, which I'll get into in another video, but for the sake of this, we're just going to leave it on material node name. So there is my AOVs basically set up, and then if I want my like Z depth and all those other passes, it's easily, I can keep building off of this. So for example, I'll come in here and we'll just go to number 2. I'll go to search here, Z depth, and there's my Z depth pass right there. Boom, and there's my adjustments that I will do to make adjustments on my Z depth, and vice versa. If I come in here again, you'll see we have different types of passes here. We got customs, which we'll get into in another video. We got all of our denoising information. Look at this: normals, light IDs, roughness, texture, UV coordinates, wireframes, different things like that. Let's bring that wireframe in just for the heck of it. And then if I come over here to the other one, and then you get your render layers, which are really nice for VFX, black layered shadows, layer reflections, and layer shadows. So once we have all of these assigned, saying, hey, this is what I want to use, these are the passes I want to use. If I go over here to Blender's Compositor, now you notice all of our passes are enabled. So this is really easy for me to just go ahead and have my file output. I can just pull these right out and go take them in DaVinci or After Effects or whatever you want, Nuke or something like that. That's basically how we set them up. But now, let's say we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to composite inside of Octane. Let me show you how to do that. Now, as far as the basic comping, it's very simple. Once you bring in your quick node tree, you're going to be greeted with these 3 nodes here. Then once I come in here and you basically click on this positive, you're going to get this option here, and we're going to want to bring in a layer group. And this is a layer group that's going to allow us to take our AOV layers, layer them in a group so we can see the output. So I'm going to plug that in here. Now, once we have this set up, you're going to notice that we have our name here, Octane Compositor Stream Setup 2. I need to turn that on in our side panel here. If you go into your view layers, here is where we set up our AOVs first, our top section of AOVs. If we go back to our AOVs here, this, and then you go ahead and select again the one that we were using, AOV Output 1, AOV Output Stream Setup 2. There's all of our AOV passes that we've set up. Now it's here, it matches here. Now we got to come down here to Octane AOV Groups, and here where you have to make sure you're using the exact same name. This is so you can have multiple setups, so you don't have to be dedicated to one. You can have multiple, right? So as long as I come in here and I check this and make sure this says the same name here, we're all good to go. And then you're done with that. You won't need to see that anymore. So now we don't see anything in the viewport. I want to start to add my layers back from my AOV setup. So if I come down here, I've just made another copy of our layer group. Let's go full screen. We come down here, here's another layer group, and I've got 9 layers, those AOVs that I set up in the beginning. So if I come over here and look, you're gonna see I've basically rebuilt the beauty. Here's my render AOV, and it's set to direct diffuse. Now, how do we get one of these? If I come into here and I go to composite, I go to blend, and I'm gonna go to render AOV. I wanna access the AOVs that we set up before, our passes. Render AOV is gonna give me this box here, and then this node, I have access to, if I come in here and zoom out a little bit, I have access to all of those passes, noise, reflection, all my info passes, all of these, and customs. So this is the power of Octane's Compositor. So basically what I did here is I just rebuilt it. I brought one in and then I set it to direct diffuse because I want to see the direct diffuse of that channel. Once we have that direct diffuse connected, then I'm going to say, hey, I want you to stack on top of that direct diffuse the indirect. So I just literally duplicate this node, drag it up, come into the tab, set it to indirect, which it is, and now we need to do some math so we can see that. And this is where I do the blending setting here. If I go ahead and again, let me duplicate this here, Alt P to pull it out of the box there. And if you see here, we have this blending setting. If I click on this blending setting, now it gives me a blend setting node, which I can do math. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, lightning. Anybody who's done Photoshop or Nuke or After Effects, you are familiar with all of these settings. They're just in this nice little package of a node, okay? So once I do this, now we're starting to think in, we're working in nodes, but you need to think like in layers. So all I do is if I pull this on top, and I'm gonna grab a new layer group here, just so we can I can show you what this is going to look like. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and connect this up so I can show you exactly what I'm doing visually. I'm gonna basically plug this in to my group layer 1, and right now we probably should see it. Let me make sure we have our AOV set, AOV1, yes, AOV1. Make sure we reset our render, turn that back on, and let's go back to our channel down here. We have nothing plugged into it, that's why we don't see anything. I'm gonna go to diffuse direct, plug that into 1. Boom, there is our diffuse direct. Now I'm gonna take our second one and we're gonna go diffuse indirect. Okay, so if I go diffuse indirect, select that, and actually I already did it backwards, but no biggie. So what I'm gonna do is just drag this one above and drag this one down, and I'm gonna actually move this one up and plug this one here. So now we don't see the direct because the indirect is on top and we're not doing the math. So if I come up here and I blend this, I'm gonna go blend mode and we're gonna do add. Boom, now we're working. So like this first one doesn't need it because it's the base, right? And now we just start to stack on top and build up all your layers. So that's just a quick example of how to build a beauty pass. So if I come in here and just connect back up what I've already established here, let me come in here, let's go full screen so we can see this a lot more easier. Now what I did was I did a whole beauty pass, I rebuilt it, and I've also added in a denoiser. If you look right here, here's our denoise, and I've also connected up the albedo denoise normal and the albedo noise. So it's connected up properly like we would do if we were using cycles. So if we jump back out, boom, there is our complete rebuilt beauty pass, okay? How do I know it's complete? Because if I come back to my AOVs here, and if I come over here, this right here, this AOV output is going to allow me to see whatever channel I choose. So I can come over here and I can choose, like I want to see direct, right? There's direct. Oh, I want to see the Z depth. There's the Z depth, right? Now if I come back to beauty, I don't see anything. Why doesn't it work? Because I have not chosen that AOV. If I come over here and look, I don't have a beauty pass AOV. No problem, we can add one in. We'll come here, click on here, I'll go down, and you probably can also search. I think it's better to search because it's just the way it is. Beauty. So I'll come in here and I'm just gonna look for it. I'm not seeing it, there it is. We're just gonna go to beauty. And again, if you're not seeing that, sometimes you make sure you come in here, turn that off and turn that back on. It gets kind of finicky, but you really need to reset that. Okay, boom. So there is my denoise beauty pass. Now, how do I know that I rebuilt this properly down here? If I go here to AOV output, okay, and let's go ahead and turn that off and turn that back on. It should be the same. Boom, it's the same. So that's how we've completely rebuilt the beauty pass. Now, here comes the power of this. Like once you've rebuilt your passes and you've got everything set up, it's really easy to get different looks. For example, if I come in here and back to the full screen on this here, let me remove all this stuff that we worked on here. Here is the actual beauty pass that we set up. Now you see all these wires and you're like, what is he doing here? This is what I'm doing. I'm taking this group, which is we grouped all these nodes into one node. All I do is grab this, I go Control Shift D, make a duplicate of it, just like I did here. So I have it all connected. And then what I'm gonna do is just plug it into this layer group up here. So now I have a second layer or a copy of the first layer. Now I can start to manipulate things. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that because I did it here. So for one thing that I like to do in Photoshop is I like to take my fully denoise image and I like to take my noise image and just blend a little bit of it so we can get some of that detail. Well, how do I do that in this compositor? Super easy. I have my fully denoised image here, which we've done, And then what I've done is I've come over here and made a copy, right? I did not connect the denoiser. Let me go and zoom in here. This denoising image is not connected to this group, so I minused it. So this is technically the noisy image. So what I'm gonna do is just plug that in just like that, and I'm gonna actually take these guys off here just so we can see what's happening. If I jump back, now when we look at my image here, it's the noisy image. You can see we've got hot pixels here and everything. It's not the clean image. Well, how do I control that? Again, we got to think in layers. This group 1 on top of group 2, denoise image, dirty image on top. I want to control the opacity of that layer. Before I even do that, I want to fix these hot pixels. Now this is the power of the Octane compositing inside. There is a node called a hot pixel remover. So what I'm going to do is plug that in first, and I'm going to plug that in. Boom. You can see the difference. It took away some of those hot pixels, especially on the subsurface right here. If I go ahead and toggle that on and off, look at the difference there. On and off, on and off. Let me zoom in here so you guys can see that on this screen here. There is the hot pixels. If we turn it on, boom. See that? It just kills a little bit of that, right? And I can control the strength. Now what I want to do is I want to control that denoised image. How do we bring that back into mix? Well, I just bring in an opacity node. And where am I getting all these nodes from? I'm getting these nodes from right inside of here. If you go into Compositor, look, we've got post-processing. Here's all of our post-processing. Here's our opacity node, which I'm already using. Display if you wanted to bring in ACES, color space, or AGX or something like that. And then your basic ones, color correction. This is how you do comping inside of Blender Octane's Compositor here. So I grab my hot pixel, now I grabbed an opacity, and I'm gonna drop that on top. Boom, now look at our sphere. It's totally clean, and I can control how much of that denoise image I want, right? I don't want it fully because it's killing all my detail. I just wanted to bring it in just a little bit right about there, okay? Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of noise, but I like it. It's okay, just to make this example, right? So that's a quick and easy way how we can we just took this 2 nodes and duplicated them up. Now let's do it again, but this time we're gonna push colors around. We're gonna totally change the look. So I can do that again. If I come here, you see I've took the same thing, I duplicated it from here, and I included the noisy image. And this time I actually wanted to do a cryptomat. How do we bring in that cryptomat data? Super easy. Let's first of all, once we've got this look, like, hey, I want to save this look because I want to use this look. Not a problem. All we need to do, if I come over here to our AOV group output, give me another input. Why? Because I have a second AOV comp that I want to have separate for a separate look. Here's my second look that I built. All I did was duplicate the whole thing, the whole setup, duplicated it. And let's come in here, and I'm going to plug this into another AOV socket here called AOV group 2. Boom. Okay. Again, what did I do? Let's go full screen so you can see. I have my AOV output here, which is all of our layers, just like we basically did. And I brought that to the AOV group and made a second one. Now what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to do this. Check this out. If we come back here to our master output, what we're seeing, we're looking at 1. I can change this to, oh, now we have a 2. What do you mean? If I go, look, let's add another one. Now we have a 3, another 3 AOV. Now what's powerful about this, check this out. If I go to Blender Compositor and go back to Blender Compositor, if we look at our Blender output, look, now we've got these outputs, AOV1, AOV2, AOV3. This is 3 different looks, easily going to be exported out, plus all my passes. It's like a benefit, right? Okay, so let's go back to our AOV, render AOV. We got to select our name, back to our name, there it is. I'm going to go to 2 because I have something plugged into 2. Boom, now you see the second one here, I've changed the look. Look at the look here. Let me go full screen so you can see. I've added some chromatic aberration. I added some blur. I've added some streaks and everything like that. I made a whole separate look. And all I did was, once I had my node tree built, I just duplicated it, copied it, brought all the nodes over here, and then all I did was add in the stuff that I wanted to do. I added in a post-processing node here, which is right here. This is the older system here, but I could do it individually. So I brought this comes in as a set. So I have the Camera Imager, which is also available inside our, if I go to my viewport, here is my Camera Imager. It's all of this, and here is my post-processing. All of this is now being accessed from right here inside the Compositor. All of those settings here, right? I could go down to a granular level and just go, hey, go into post-processing, just give me a glare node, okay? So here's our glare node. Now I've got just the glare node, and I can come in here, crank that up. See, you can see it working right if I wanted to add more glare, okay? So that's just a quick crash course on how we can make multiple looks extremely easy after I built the first pass. Now I can just duplicate this whole setup again, repeat it again, change the look, set my output out, and have a separate output. Now, I know this might sound like a lot of stuff, and like, why would you go through all this just to do a comp when I can take my layers out and go to After Effects or DaVinci Resolve or Fusion? Again, it's not about comparing this to those. This is just something that I'm showing you that's inside of Octane, just in case, because if you do know this, this is just another tool for something quick that I don't need to go ahead and export all my files and bring them into DaVinci just to do a quick bloom or a quick glare or something. I like to have multiple tools in my tool bag, so I got the tool for whatever I need. And plus, I like learning stuff. That's the reason why I wanted to learn this compositor, just so I can know, hey, I can do this also inside of Blender. Now, will I do all my comps inside of this? Probably not. I'll continue to use DaVinci Resolve or Nuke like I do. But this has already got me playing a lot more. Where I've already been playing like, let me just quickly do a render, and I'm like, let me just quickly add some posts, and I've already been using just this really fast. Not to the point where I'm doing a complete rebuild beauty, but just adding glare, maybe just adding a little bit of this or adding a little bit of that, changing contrast or something. I can do stuff that I was doing in Photoshop, I can do right here now and don't even have to go and touch Photoshop, which is quicker for me. So on this last one here, I'm just going to talk really quickly about Cryptomattes, because that's something that I know a lot of people have struggled with because there's not a lot of info out there. Now, this same setup that we've got back in here, if you look here, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the other setup that I had, which is super easy. How do we change back to the other setup? Go to AOV1. Boom, we're back to our other setup, okay? Now, if we look at this setup here, what I've done was, again, I made a copy of our original beauty build. And again, shift duplicate, grab that whole node setup, and here it is. So I have this layer group node. Again, I want to take my denoise. We got our dirty image. Now I want to add an image because I want to do a Cryptomatte pass. So we got to stack that on top. And that's where we use this layer group. We're going to add that in. Let me go ahead and disconnect these for a moment. I'm going to add that in. Boom. Okay, good. So basically I just took them. It's like a mirror. Like it's the exact same thing. That's why we don't see anything different in the viewport. But if I come over here and now I bring in a Cryptomatte pass, here is our mask with Cryptomattes. And again, if we just click on our compositor, and you have the right here, effects, opacity, mask as Cryptomattes right there. Super easy, right? And then we're going to get our node here, and then we can come in here and choose, hey, how do I want to do my Cryptomatte? By name, by material, by object number. I can even do custom ones. Matter of fact, it's so easy. I'm going to show you really fast. If I jump back over to the viewport, each node in Octane has this slot down here, custom AOV. Right here, custom AOV 1. So whatever this material, I think we're working with material number 2, which is a emission, okay? Whatever has this on, if I say, hey, I want you to have custom AOV 1, okay? Anything that has this material on it now is going to be available for custom AOV 1. How do I access custom AOV 1? Super easy. Come over here. We're going to plug in our layer, our AOV Cryptomatte, plug that into there. And then I'm going to say, hey, I want to do a custom AOV, right? So we're going to go down to, actually, matter of fact, I don't even think I need it for this one here. And what we need to do is also we need to get that custom AOV pass. So if we go back to our AOVs here on the top and make a new slot, I'm going to go into render, and then we're just going to come down to, where is it going to be? Custom, right here, custom AOV. We'll select that. And again, what was our custom AOV number? It was custom AOV number 1, right? So we'll go ahead and just drop that in. And there's my custom number 1. So now if we come over here to our bottom here to access that, what I'm going to do is go to 11. I'm going to add in a new, I'm going to go to Blender, render AOV. Once I bring that over here, well, then what I'm going to do is open this up, and we're going to just go down to custom. Here's global, custom AOV 1. There's custom AOV 1. And boom, anything that has that material on it, there is my mask right there. It pops up. Super easy and extremely powerful, right? Just for one-offs if you want to do a quick mask of something like that, right? So that's how we do that. Now if I come back here and go back to this other system here, which I have the Cryptomatte already enabled, if you notice we also have our right here, Cryptomattes in our AOV pass set by material node name. Well, I brought in a Cryptomattes mask by material node name. And then what I can do is click this plus button and then click on that. Now it's going to select just that here, which we're not seeing because it's duplicating on top. So you're seeing the exact same image, but trust me, it's there because how do I know? I'm going to add this hue adjustment onto the next layer and boom, now I can shift the color around for anything that has that material name. So there is the power of the Cryptomatte right there working. Again, cryptos, you want to be kind of easy with it because you can see here we do have a little bit of fringing here at the edge here. If I go extreme, right? Like if I go extreme, you do see a little bit of this edge here. But the Cryptomattes are meant for real, you know, minute, subtle changes and things like that, right? So that is basically how I would do a full build with Cryptomattes and all of that comped inside of Blender Octane. How do we get the output? Very easy. If I jump over here to the top and if we just go back to our standard compositor, we go back to our Blender compositor. Again, let's go full screen. We have these outputs, output AOV1, AOV2, right? What I'm gonna do is go ahead and hit save. I'm gonna do a quick render. All right, so I've done a quick render. If I come up here to my combine layer and we can see all of our beauty passes, we've got everything that we've wanted that we set up AOVs, right? We've got all of that beautiful data. And if I come down to AOV1 output, here's our AOV1 output with the Cryptomatte doing its thing, right? Again, we pushed it a little bit hard in the hue saturation, not a big deal. AOV output 2, that special look that we made, boom, there it is. And then AOV output 3 should be nothing because I technically did not connect it up. So there it is, the power of the compositor. So again, overall, the downsides of this is it's just node madness, right? It's already node. But that small downside is really not that big of a problem. Once you group your nodes properly and have nice, good, tidy workflow, it shouldn't be an issue. So yeah, after spending a day inside of Octane's Compositor, I'd say it's a solid tool for quick post work and light adjustments. It's not replacing DaVinci Resolve or Fusion anytime soon, but if you want to stay inside of Blender and keep things fast, it's a really underrated part of Octane that I think most artists should give a try. Now, if you want to actually start using Blender Octane yourself, there is something new you should know. You no longer need Octane standalone anymore. Octane does have an add-on that is in beta and it works with normal Blender installs, even if you're using Blender 4.5. You can install it just like any other add-on. In my next video, I'll show you exactly how to download it, set it up, and start rendering with Octane inside of vanilla Blender. Let's get straight into it.